The 7800 GameDrive and MEGA 7800 were released by Retro HQ several months ago. I wanted to do this review sooner, but I was in the middle of moving house and it's better late than never. The Retro HQ 7800 GameDrive is a flash cartridge for the Atari 7800 console. It will let you run your commercial games and homebrew from a micro SD card, which you can use with the cartridge. This is the back of the cartridge, despite the label being on it. The AV output connects to a Sega Mega Drive 2 type cable, which you can connect to your CRT, or say an upscaler such as an OSSC, or if you are rich, the RetroTink 4K. I have the OSSC, which does just fine, but wouldn't say no to the RetroTink 4K if anyone wants to buy me one. The front side has the Retro HQ logo on it, just to remind you who made this awesome flash cart. On one side is a serial debug port if you want to upload your own software and get debug data, and the top of the cart has a micro SD card slot. You don't need more than 1 gig size, as the 2600 and 7800 ROM collection is a very small file size. Talking about size, physically it is the same size and shape as an original 7800 cartridge, not much difference there. Also released around the same time is the MEGA 7800, which lets you plug in Master System and Mega Drive controllers to use with the Atari 2600 and 7800. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice that one of the options is Light Gun for use with the Master System Light Gun. I will try them all later in the video. Back to the GameDrive. Once you have copied over your games, insert the cartridge into your Atari 7800, the correct way with the label facing away from you, and if you are using the AV output, connect your cable and switch on. You will see the Retro HQ logo and be prompted to check to update the firmware. You can use the URL or the QR code to access the firmware update for your cartridge. There have been a few firmware updates already, so it's worth checking out if you haven't updated in a while. After a few moments you will be in the file browser. From here you can navigate and choose the game to run. Simple. Whilst playing a game, you can press the start button on your Mega Drive gamepad with the MEGA 7800 converter, or hold down the button combinations for a few seconds if not. This will bring up the break menu with some options. You can save and load states, which saves and resumes exactly where you left off in the game. It's great for tricky parts in games, for example. The audio volume allows you to adjust the main volume and any audio formats used in the game you are playing. The video option lets you change the palette colour shift between cool, warm and hot. And the low pass filter can be enabled or disabled for the AV output. The cheats menu will show any available cheats for the games you are running. You can activate and deactivate them as required. Return will return back to the game, and exit will bring you back to the file browser. From the file browser, you can also bring up the menu for the global settings to change the audio and video options, and from which ports you would be able to control the UI with. The cartridge supports POKEY, YM2151, Covox and Bupchip audio formats, as well as high score cartridge support. Since the launch, there have been a few firmware updates to improve the compatibility on both Atari 2600 and 7800 games. The 7800 GameDrive will run Atari 7800 cartridges in NTSC and PAL regions, but be aware that you will only be able to run those ROMs for your console's region unless you mod it. It's not really worth it, to be honest, as there's still some incompatibilities, though I found a fair number of NTSC homebrew software to run on my PAL console, so not all is lost. The 7800 GameDrive also supports Atari 2600 games. You will need to power cycle the console and load an Atari 2600 game after, otherwise they will not load. You won't have support for the break menu with save states etc, and there are some issues with games, but overall I found the games to work just fine. Using the AV output gives a far greater quality picture than original RF, or if you have converted to Composite. I am using a cheap capture card than my usual one due to an issue with OSSC, but as you can see the RGB SCART output is less fuzzy than component and looks crystal clear on a CRT or upscaler. Moving on to the MEGA 7800 now. It is pretty straightforward to use. Simply plug in your controller before switching on and it will detect what you are using and convert the controller for use on the console. I tried the first party Master System and Mega Drive controllers and they worked fine. Though one of my 6-button controllers was not recognised as such, and this is a known issue. I also tried some third-party controllers including the ASCIIware Mega Stick, which works great. I also have a Master System light gun, and after a bit of fiddling around I got it to work. You have to reset the game and point the gun at the screen up to a few times for it to find the light gun. After that it worked fine. My original Atari XEGS light gun naturally worked fine as well. When used with the 7800 GameDrive, the start button lets you easily access the brake menu without having to mess around with button combinations, which is very handy. Overall, the MEGA 7800 is a nice addition to use with both the 2600 and 7800 consoles, and especially with the 7800 GameDrive. Homebrew games can take advantage of the extra controller buttons, which is a great idea. If you do not like the original 7800 controllers and want to use the Mega Drive or even Master System controllers, then this is a must-have. The 7800 GameDrive sadly does not work with the recently released Atari 2600. It is a FPGA based cartridge and does not work the same way a standard cartridge works. I was not expecting it to work, but maybe in the future the 2600 Plus devs will add support for it. Unlikely, but we can wish. As a note, the MEGA 7800 does work with the Atari 2600 Plus just fine, though of course the light gun will not work due to modern TVs not supporting them. Like all of Retro HQ's products, they are high quality and well supported with firmware updates when required. The price is £150 for the GameDrive, a bit on the expensive side but definitely worth it compared to shelling out for original game carts. The MEGA 7800 costs only £15 and for this bargain price it's definitely worth it for both Atari 2600 and 7800 owners. You can learn more about both products on the Retro HQ website. I bought these with my own money and not sponsored in any way. Thanks for watching our review of the 7800 GameDrive and MEGA 7800. Please take a moment to subscribe as it will entice me to make more videos in general for this channel. Thanks.